You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Friday night, laid back, feeling smooth. Looking for just a little something to get into. Tired of the same old scene.
Hunt for something different, if you know what I mean.
So when I saw you, there was no in between. You came up to me like something from out of my dreams. A woman from the pages of a magazine. Deep inside my heart, you scream. I can't understand. Hey, just wanna hold you. Hey, baby, how you do the things I'm watching you do. While we're in this club, just wanna make some love. All I wanna do, my girl, is dance with you. Now we're in this club, your cheek pressed to my face, trying not to lose control, but I ain't got no time to waste, cause I came up in the club,
Dead and face to face with perfection.
and it would be a lot of your love for my body.
This is what I'm making of.
Hey, woo, I can understand. I can understand. Just wanna hold
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And as always, thank you, Mr. Anthony Haney, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode 420 of the podcast, and we're talking about Maryland football. But before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. Episode 421, when Maryland wins basketball, that episode will be recorded as well. These will go up tomorrow. As recording this video, will go up Saturday morning. Tomorrow for the women's basketball team, they have the Navy Classic Tournament. I'll be covering them as they play George Mason, and I want to say it's University of Toledo. So best luck to the women's basketball team. The Maryland football team play their final game of the season, and it is against I'm not looking forward to that. It is against Penn State. My apologies. I'm not looking forward to that. Maryland men's basketball, that'll be recorded tomorrow. We've got a plethora of basketball for them to talk about. As we know, it's been a few games. I know they recently just won a tournament. So congratulations to them. So we definitely have a lot to talk about. The WNBA expansion draft, as this video is recorded, will be on December 6th. Once that has been decided, there'll be probably one more mock draft, maybe a couple more. Probably going to do up to at least 5 mock drafts, and then I'll be it. And then whatever happens this weekend with the Baltimore Ravens, those recaps and all those things, be tuned in for the more. I've been in the process of starting to upload all the episodes, download all the episodes. They can go on Spotify and Apple. So please take listen on Spotify. If you're listening on Apple, thank you for the support you've given me in this podcast, this channel. You can continue to like, comment, and subscribe. Appreciate the support you're giving me in this channel. Ladies and gentlemen, it does not go unnoticed. I truly do appreciate you. Oh, one other thing. If you've noticed, I believe it was episode 418, that got blocked. I had to re-upload that video. It should be up. What happened was, in the one point I thought I played a clip with First Take, and that video got copyrighted. So because of that clip, so I had to take that clip out and put a new one in. So that was something. So you should still see it up. So I just want to give that just an update on that. Maryland football. Oh boy, it has been something. If I could put a story on this season, a title on this season, just I'm not surprised. That would be the title of this season. I think people really have to understand, especially the Terp fans. I think we have some hardcore Terp fans, and I think there's some casuals. I think you have to understand this. When you are building a team, you have to understand the last 3 years, when he came in, this program was a mess. To get a coach, to get players to buy into what he wants the vision of the program to be, I think people are acting like this program never had a chance. It's one thing if he hadn't won games. That's one thing. But he's won 3 bowl games. We all kind of should have seen the writing on the wall this season. When you're seeing kind of how things look in terms of, now Talia's gone. You don't have a Rakeem Jarrett. You don't have Jacob Copeland. You don't have those guys. All some guys are transfer portal. This was kind of a transition year. I kind of look at this year, I compared to last year women's basketball team in this regard. When you're coming off of a run to the Elite Eight, you lose, you lose a player like Diamond Miller to the draft. You have some transfers. You have some graduates. Last year was kind of a transition year. This season, when you kind of look at everything, and respectfully, we can criticize and blame Mike all we want to, but at some point also too, players have to be held accountable as well. Like, are there some things that could have been fixed? Yes, I will agree to that. But at the same time, like, I'm looking at the same thing. If it's, and also the squad is young. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some seniors, there's some grad seniors, there's some transfers, but I just think that this group, I don't want to say we had a hard time buying in. I just think when you don't have the key personnel like compared to last year, and you're asking guys who've not been in those roles to now go into those new roles, that's an adjustment period. So I think we're kind of not taking that into consideration. But let me get you the speed on where we're at up until this Penn State preview. Last where we left off, we had to play at the time the number 1 ranked Oregon, and we lost 39-18. It just was, that was interesting. They were favored to win anywho. We did not do great at the time coming into that game. After that loss, we were 1-5 in conference play. Oregon, I thought we could make something out of it. I mean, for a little bit of the game, did all the right things. I mean, at that point, they were 9-0, 6-0 in the Big Ten. Dan Lanning is it's his 3rd year as head coach. They got some guys. Their offense, passing the ball wise, has been subpar. I think coming into that game, but they had the number 1 ranked passing offense. For some reason, coming into that game against us, they weren't the best red zone team. I think they were like under 90%, which was like 8th at that point of the matchup, because we were actually below them. So, yeah, when they thrown 3 interceptions coming into that game as well, which was the most in the Big Ten. So, I thought really kind of slowing them down, trying to come out aggressive. I thought those were my 2 big major keys against going against the number 1 ranked school. I mean, there were some things, some positives. Ty Felton, he tied the single season receptions mark in there. DJ Moore, 2017. So, I mean, that was pretty much the highlight. I mean, as you watch the game, I mean, they made it hard for us, defensively too. Our secondary at times stepped up, was great, but I mean, they didn't have Tess Johnson at that point, who leads the team in receptions and receiving yards. But I mean, I give our secondary credit in that game. They did all the right things. He also, and then their starting quarterback, Gabriel, he broke the NCAA record total touchdowns. So yeah, that was something. But yeah, that happened in the Oregon game. Wasn't surprised. We just got picked apart, if I'm being honest. I mean, like, without their best receiver, they didn't need him in the game. Turnovers, last 3 games coming into Oregon, Billy Average Jr.'s turned the ball over 5 times, 1 of 4 interceptions and a fumble. And again, some of it's not just him. I think it's his offensive line. And, we've talked about this, but I mean, yeah, that happened. So that was us against the number 1 ranked school. Then our little brother of the Big Ten. We hadn't lost to this team since 2020. And coming into this game, Scarlet was 5-4, 2-4 in the Big Ten. And the last time we saw that they've lost for the last 5 games. And Rutgers, they defeated us 31-17.
How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on?
You know, as I'm sitting here, I really had to go back and look at the tape for all these games. And what I see is I see the simple mistakes. And the mistakes have kind of been the story all season. I kind of felt like once we lost to Rutgers, I kind of felt like our bowl chances went out the window. Billy Edwards did not have the best game. There's no way in hell my quarterback should be out there throwing the ball 55 times. I'm sorry. That's ridiculous. And just when you're going against a Rutgers team, I like Demir Miller. I like Kyle Mornagny. I mean, he's the running back, but I mean, they are not the best playing from behind. They've allowed all their opponents to score first on their first 4 losses. And one of those games were decided by a touchdown, if I remember correctly, upcoming into that game. But, there's a reason why they've beaten Virginia. They beat at Virginia Tech or Washington or Minnesota, because they control the pace of play and they execute defensively. Those are what good teams do. Maryland, respectfully, I just think had no answers. I don't know if it just and again, I don't know if it's, and I'm not going to use the schedule. I'm not going to use, you have newcomers coming in the Big Ten, but we're losing games. But the pattern, and I'm going to say this again, we're losing games that we should be winning. We finished 4th the last 2 seasons. Coming into this game, we're second to last this year. Got our ass whipped by Indiana, Michigan State, and now Rutgers. All of whom we the smallest last year. They got better. We've got worse. I mean, we just looked out of play against every conference opponent. And again, I don't know if it's just, again, when you're in the midst of a transition season, every program is going to go through this. Talent, coaching, there's a lot to go around. But when you just look at how everything looks, I mean, there's no excuse why for the first time when I watched that game in particular, they outperformed us in every stat of the game. Yards, running the ball, won a turnover battle, passing yards. Through the first 3 quarters, and Billy Edwards, the 181 yards in the 4th quarter, I'm not giving him that because that was in garbage time. And respectfully, like the only positive I could truly say in that game was Ramon Hemby. That was it. That didn't do anything. And again, like I just at this point, I just watching these games, and I don't understand it. I mean, we were 7-3. We were coming into this game. We were 7-3 against them. So they joined the Big Ten in 14. And it just looked different. I mean, again, they have veterans. They're doing all the right things. So I very, very was shocked to see that. And then give Greg Schiano his respect. I mean, he's a good coach. He's now he's not going to lead him back-to-back bowl games. And hey, like it was something. It was something to forget. But that happened in the Rutgers game, and I couldn't believe it. And I don't know. I just feel like to me, like when we lost, that to me was kind of the low point of the season right there. Because now, you have to face now coming into this Iowa, Penn State, and we're going to get into that in a little bit, but that Rutgers loss, that really hurt. We're going to take a little commercial break, and then we're going to talk about the loss to Iowa and preview the matchup against Penn State. We'll be right back. All right, and let's just get right into it. The next game was the Iowa matchup. Oh goodness, Maryland lost, and it wasn't even close. The final score, ladies and gentlemen, was 29-13.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
What was that? What the hell was that? I'm sorry the H words and the D words aren't appropriate over the airwaves, but it's going to be today. I don't know how much more of this I can take. How in God's name?
Coming into this matchup, Iowa was 6-4, 4-3 in the Big Ten. They were the end of the season at the 25th best team, if I remember that correctly. And the same thing, playing up and down to competition, particularly in the Big Ten. But when you beat teams like Minnesota, Northwestern, who both beat us, but you somehow lost to UCLA and Michigan State. That was something. To me, Caleb Johnson was my number one target to worry about because he is arguably the best running back in the conference. Coming into the game, he led the conference in rushing per game. I think coming in 20 touchdowns coming into that game. He had second in the conference with yards per carry. I think it was well over 7. They just like to run the ball, and they coming in that game lead over 200 yards rushing, and with 27 as well coming into the game with just 9 fumbles. But Cade McNamara is good, but they're not the best at passing the ball. Coming into this game, I think they were ranked second to last in passing yards per game, and passing touchdowns was like 8 touchdowns passing the ball. And our secondary this whole season has been a story. We have been susceptible to giving up the big plays. And I thought we would have seen something, but we didn't. And again, Billy Edwards, I starting with him, I thought, I've tried to come to his defense. I think he's a good quarterback, but sometimes it's like looking at Talia. At times, it's just little mistakes. He's thrown for coming into that game. So he threw for 1,444 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions, and completing under 75% of his passes. But within those last 5 games, his numbers have dramatically took a dip. I think he threw coming into this matchup, he threw 4 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, under 60%. So, it was going to be him, our defense, and to me, it's like a must win. You got to go out there and you got to give some effort, and that didn't happen. And where do I begin? At the end of the day, like they control the pace of play with the running the ball, and you got to figure out how to finish games. And when you watch the first two possessions offensively for us, they were under 4 minutes. Iowa's first three drives, actually have it written here, 6 minutes and 18 seconds, 6 minutes 20 seconds, 7 minutes and 27 seconds. Only the first drive, one was 6 minutes 18 seconds. My apologies. They didn't score. That's because they fumbled in the red zone. But I mean, their running offense has been the key. I mean, he finished the game with 164 yards, Caleb Johnson, rushed the ball 35 times. But he didn't rush his longest yards of the game was no more than 13 yards. But again, when you look at what their quarterback and Jackson Stratton, what they were doing was they were kind of smart with their play calling. They was mixing some play action and and mixing the run there at times. Like we couldn't get off the field. I mean, whether it was third down, they couldn't do anything. But I mean, their final time of possession, the Hawkeyes held the ball for 37 minutes and 41 seconds compared to our 22 minutes and 19 seconds.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. Mm-mm. What do you want me to say to that?
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
And even in this game, we got to see NC State transfer redshirt sophomore Mr. MJ Morris, because Billy Edwards had an injury to his right forearm, and Billy wasn't successful those first two drives, and respectfully, MJ Morris wasn't that much better neither. I mean, he showed some flashes, but with his legs, I mean, to try to make something for the offense, but some of the decision making was extremely questionable. So, especially there was one where he hikes the ball, dropping back to pass, deep ball, Dylan Wade, incomplete. Same thing. Takes the ball, snaps the ball, dropping back to pass, 2 shots deep to Caden Prather in coverage. And especially he missed an opportunity at the first half. We just moved 20 yards up the field in 1 minute, and that was it. And then Billy Edwards came back in the game again. He took a hard hit, and he was out the game. MJ Morris came right in there and hit Ty Felton in for the first score of the game. And listen, and then his second half was not that much better. I mean, he went down the field, another touchdown pass. We were down 6 points. Okay, great. Now, needing a score and trying to make something of his offense, snaps the ball, dropping back to pass, throws, an interception. Mind you, deep. You didn't need you let the plays out. You don't have to be a gunslinger and try to play hero ball. I mean, he finished the game 103 yards, 12 or 23, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. Listen, he showed flashes, but there's still with it. I just felt like there was a little too much hero ball. I understand they were running the clock out, but mind you, we could still be smart and aggressive with the ball. I mean, and then he kept doing, and then we got the ball back. Same thing. Snaps the ball, dropping back to pass, and the same thing. 2 interceptions on back-to-back drives. That's when I turned the game off. because I mean, at that point, I mean, like it was over. And the thing is also too, like the special teams, they weren't that much damn better neither. Bryce McPherson, as he's our punter, he didn't. I don't know what was going on with that. Excuse me. I don't know what was going on with him. I don't know if it was just a bad day. Let's be have bad days. He gave Iowa solid field position. Those 2 punts in the second quarter were not the best. Field goal wise, we didn't look better neither. And Iowa made 5 field goals. The longest one was a 54, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I don't want to say that the fellas checked out, but like I said, at this point in the season, it's over. Like we were outrushed. They had 268 yards rushing to 98. Like, I mean, in fairness, like Ty Felton, he did, he's been playing his ass off, and I'm really proud of what I'm seeing from him. I think he's definitely going to be an NFL prospect. I could definitely see he's making a case. Now he's 4th all time in career receiving yards behind Mr. Darius Heyward-Bey, DJ Moore, Torrey Smith. That's some great company. So, ironically, he's in a 3-way touchdown for second in single season receiving touchdowns with 9. Interesting stat. I saw that. I was like, wow. So he's in there with good company. But I mean, with poor quarterback play, it just I don't know. It was bad. And respectfully, like I can't. When you only cross the 50-yard line twice as an offense, that's mostly someone on your quarterbacks, but that's also too play calling. And again, it just I get it. Billy Edwards, I know he's had a thumb injury, and I still think I think he's a good quarterback, but I that third quarter scramble, that silent for the rest again, taking the hit to the head. I don't know. I didn't like to see that. And then MJ, he had 2 touchdowns with the 2 interceptions on back-to-back drives. You can't defend that. I mean, Ramon Hendy, running game was non-existent. I mean, he ran the ball 8 times and only had 19 yards. Just the receivers, outside of Ty Felton, Caden Prather, I mean, they couldn't really get anything going because of the quarterbacks, and also too, like they struggled to get open at times. And Felton dropped 2 passes. It just was bad. And then the tight ends, don't get me started with these guys. And it's not their fault. I mean, they're just not. I don't know if it's just they're not getting involved in the offense, or we're not finding ways to get them in there consistently. I mean, Preston Howard was the only one involved Saturday. 2 catches for 12 yards. Dylan Wade, he got hurt. Leon Haltington Jr., he's only played 13 snaps, got a false start penalty. And then again, like this offensive line has just been something. I mean, and credit Iowa's battle in the trenches. I mean, they allowed 3 sacks. I mean, and our run game is not effective, and a lot of that has to fall with the offensive line. The fact that we allowed 115 yards per game, we only mustered 98. So, no, I can't. I just think just the lack of adjustments, and again, I think a lot of this comes from we just were not prepared. And like I said, it just at this point they're not going to make the bowl tournament. And again, I'm gonna save it for one final thought on Coach Locksley, respectfully. But let's get into the Penn State, our last game of the season. Geez, if it could not, and this has to be something. So as officially we have lost our becoming bowl eligible after losing to Iowa, and while some people consider the season as a failure, I can say it's a disappointment because I really thought what we had, I thought we could build off of it. I thought we had some good transfers, just didn't pan out. And I still think we can finish this on a high note. We're playing against Penn State. Unfortunately, we have to go to Happy Valley. I'm not looking forward to that. We know who Penn State is, led by Coach James Franklin. He's definitely gone to the bowl game, and they are a good team for a reason. He's guided them to 5 New Year 6 bowl games. So there's a reason why he's successful. They have the best rushing attack outside of Iowa. They're second, actually, ironically, behind Iowa. Nicholas Strayton and Keaton Allen had 5 rushing touchdowns apiece. I'm seeing those stats correctly, and over 1,000, almost over 1,300 yards combined running the ball. But they are not, to me, what's interesting about their defense, for a team that's 10-1, but they're 7-1 in the Big Ten, their defense against the pass is something. I don't know if it's really maybe because there's just not any other weaknesses you can say they have, but I mean, maybe it's their defensive line, if anything, that's really interesting. I mean, outside of Abdul Carter, he's probably their best defensive player on that line. So, I mean, their corners are pretty good, but I mean, yeah, I'm interested to see how we look. And then also, too, we got to worry about Mr. Drew Allar. He's been he's third in Big Ten in terms of passing efficiency. He's definitely had one of the best productive seasons so far for the Nittany Lions. But I'm just curious to see how we're going to finish this. My biggest take here, I wrote it down, is you gotta come out strong. You gotta finish the season on a high note. Listen, this has been a rough season, but I think you have a chance to send a message to the Big Ten. You came on, you beat us up, you knocked us down, but we're not going anywhere. So that's one of my keys. That's my first key. The next key I have here is energy. You got to come out with some energy. You got to set the tone early. I want to see the run game be successful. I want to see Ty Felton break, was it Marcus Big Dad's single season, single record. But again, I guess against their secondary, it's going to be interesting. So I'm looking to see how they look. I'm just looking for an all-around effort from all 3 phases of football. I wrote it down: effort. I just think, and again, I think why not do it against a team that, for the most part, that has beat us up most of the year, most of the matchups. I just feel like this is a way we can finish this year on a high note, and I think we can do it. But I'm curious to see how it will look. I'm going to call it. I'm going to say the Maryland Terrapins upset the Penn State Nittany Lions 27-20.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that.
Wrong clip.
Guaranteed.
I think they can do it. I think Maryland can come out and surprise a lot of people. I think for the most part, I think we're kind of sitting here like, oh, okay, well, the season's over. Blah, blah, blah. No, I think they can do it. I think everybody knows what's at stake. I just can't see us just going out like this. So I'm curious. I think we have an opportunity to upset the number 4 ranked school in the nation, and we can hurt some seeding for the playoffs, in my opinion. So I think Maryland can do it. Listen, I picked us to beat USC, and we did that for homecoming. I understand losing to Iowa for senior day, that was rough, but I have a feeling we're going to come out and we're going to do it. I feel it. So that's just my prediction. But listen, it's however the season ends. While I'm disappointed, I am proud of these. I am proud of these young men. They really went out there and gave it their all. Rather, there's been some good games. There's been some bad games, but it's when you have seasons like this. This is a testament of how you get better, and I want to see confidence instilled. That's why I pick us to win this game. I want to see some confidence established for us as we get ready for the off season. I want to see us get back to where we were before this season. And again, I understand it's frustrating for some guys because after this year, Dante Trader Jr., Ty Felton, their college career is over. So I really think the one thing I can say is I'm very proud of this group. While I said this was disappointing, and I look at this as before you succeed, you must first learn to fail. Michael Jordan said that at best. So whatever happens out there, just give it your all, and I think we'll be fine. And that what actually transitions me into one final thought.
Thoughts are running through my mind. Someone took some time to find a minute or two to organize.
I understand we face a former Maryland coach in James Franklin, who was with us back in 2014. I still think I think to sit here and I've come to Mike Locksley's defense, and I'm going to continue to come to his defense. To say that this man needs to be fired is ridiculous. Understand something. This is the first time since 2020 we won't be in a bowl game. I understand for the seniors, grads that have took us from being a laughing stock in the Big Ten to winning 3 consecutive bowl games, all against Power 4 teams. I'm proud of that. If we didn't win anything, you have an argument. Yeah, you have to go. But I mean, tomorrow is an opportunity for us to build on what has been the start of a new decade to what this program can be for next 5 years until 2030. I mean, you have some talent. I mean, you have to understand Ruben Hepplite the second, Ty Felton, Ramon Hemby, Dante Trader, those guys. This group was the group that came in, okay, after we lost 6 straight, we had 6 piss poor seasons and turned it into 23 straight bowl games for the first time in our program history. But you know what's interesting, though? This same energy, we didn't give this for the others. Now, the whole Jordan McNair thing, we got that. That man was fired, and leave it at that. We won 3 bowl. Again, what do you want the man to do? and again, like, I think there is a bright future for Maryland. When I'm confident what this 2025 class will look like. When you bring in Malik Washington, who's the number 26 player coming in the country, like that group, that is, to me, what you're going to have to build off on. And I don't know what the rest of the roster is going to look like. I probably would expect him to say, hey, you got to hit the portal. I definitely expect him to definitely go in the portal and do his thing. But I definitely think you have to go out there. You have to play. Mike Locksley is not going anywhere. I think that's just disingenuous to fire this man after the last 3 years. Again, if this was any other coach, like, by that logic, if we're going to be honest, if Kevin Willett doesn't do anything this year, then he should be fired. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just, you can't pick and choose to hold people's foot to the fire. Like, the fact that when a program starts losing, the fact that some Maryland fans respectfully, and again, I'm not throwing shade, I'm just being honest. You start showing your ass and you go and you want the man fired. But here we were last year and the year before, the last 3 years, you were hooting and hollering, yeah, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, now we're struggling. Wait a minute. Now I want the man fired. You can't have it both ways. So that's just my one final thought. The man's not getting fired. I appreciate what Mike Locksley's done for this program. And I know we're going to do some big things going into forward. It starts tomorrow and going into 2025. And then Terps will be fine. I'm not worried. But again, whatever happens tomorrow, this was a disappointing season, but I'm proud of each and every one of those fellas in that locker room. So with that being said, that's going to conclude this episode of the podcast. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Be tuned for future episodes, ladies and gentlemen. Please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. I will catch you on the flip side. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Have a great weekend. Stay cool. Stay warm. Stay safe. I hope each and every one of you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Please stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you.